So I think I fixed my personal Facebook, so you can take a look there. We'll see. If you're watching a recording of this, do fast forward about 3 minutes. We're just starting early, making sure everything is working out. There we go. So Andy's telling me that Facebook is really slow right now. So, well, now that I say that, it's not like you'll know because it's so slow. Anyway, that's just, you know, comical for the rest of you who are actually on here. Let's see. We'll start at 1 o'clock. It's going to be about 2 minutes. And I'm going to give something a try here. I think I can get it to happen. Okay. Okay. Nope, can't get what I'm trying to do to happen, so we're going to go with it now with what we've got. Facebook and Twitch looks good. Okay, thanks for the verification out there, Debbie. Hello, New Jersey. Hope you're getting the good weather we're getting. Yep, looks nice out there. All right, we're going to start here in just another minute. Finishing up, are my, oh, here's my sample. What else I need to do today? Let's see. Make sure I've got everything here. Ugh. All right. Okay, so Andy says everything's good. Everything's up and running out there. So we'll just start here in just another minute. Nacusp, Canada. Hello, Canada. I don't know where that is. So, pretty exciting. What's exciting? We're going out on our first in person for the year. Woohoo! That's this week. Anyway, so Andy, you ready? You're up and running? Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Hi, everyone. I'm Q Fom Gray. This is Q Talk Live. It's 1 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Today is Monday, March 8th, and we are continuing with our Motley Metal Mondays, where we're doing enameling every Monday. So, what are we? I think this is the fifth project, I think, in the series, and we have a few more to go. I think it's going to take another 3 weeks before we finish the entire series, but today is the Zeppeli. Get it? It's an Italian donut. Anyway, so we'll be making this today. And, how was your weekend? We had a great weekend working and preparing and packing and getting ready to leave on Thursday for Pennsylvania, because we're going to be teaching at Studio 36 in Pottstown, PA. So if you haven't registered yet, you can go to find registration at their website, and still a few seats left. It's not particularly, shall we say, full, which is a good thing right now, and we're totally fine with it. But if you're needing some tools, I will be bringing all of our tools with us for the trunk show too. So if you need to pick something up and you're nearby, come on over and do a little bit of shopping. We are going to keep safe, and we're going to do best we can with social distancing, and we're masking up. So there we are. So anyway, let's jump into the project today. Like I said, it is Motley Metal Monday. So what you'll need is you're going to need a leather mallet, a chasing hammer, a wood dap set. Yes, on this one you can use a metal one if you don't have the wood one. Just make sure you don't do it too deep. Okay, a center finder is very, very helpful for today, but not required. You can always find a center of a disc in other ways. A bench block, a disc cutter. If you don't have a disc cutter, then you can use a saw and with a hole punch. Okay, so there you go. We're going to do it in an easy way today. A 1.25 hand punch, okay? Something pretty small. If you want to drill out the hole, you can drill out the hole too, but we're going to use a hand punch. Makes life a lot easier. A heavy duty cutter, that's a must today because we don't want a saw. Notice I'm avoiding the saw today. And a multi-looping plier. We're going to use those to make our earring wires, unless you already have earring wires. And of course, you're going to need a torch and an enamel setup to get going. Some enamel colors. I'm using both opaque and transparents today, and of course we need our counter enamel. Sharpie is always great, and the materials we're using is we're going to be using 14 gauge wire, copper wire. You can use, and of course you can use brass if you prefer, or you can use silver. Okay, and then we have 20 gauge copper for the earring wire, an 8mm jump ring to connect the pieces, and a tiny little piece of 24 gauge fine silver wire. Okay, so you can use 24 gauge or 22 gauge will work too, either way. But you really don't want to go much heavier than that, or really any heavier than that. And you're going to find out why here in a minute. Okay, so first things first. Oh, and I'm sorry. 1 inch 24 gauge discs. Now, I've had some complaint from a friend actually, who says that wearing enameled earrings is really tough on her earlobes because she has delicate earlobes. And so I said, well, I don't personally find them particularly heavy. And I also argue that this particular earring, we're taking out the middle, so we're reducing the weight. But that's sort of funny. But in any case, so the other thing you can do too is you can use, instead of using 24 gauge, you can definitely use 26. 26 is actually fairly traditional when it comes to enamelists. They do like to use 26 gauge. Personally, I find it a little bit thin, but if you need to reduce the weight on your earrings, this is one way of doing it, is to go to a lighter gauge. I, however, would never go to 28. That's absolutely for sure. Okay, so here we go. So first things first, we're going to find the center of our disc. Oh, and you need a circle template. Anyway, so I'm going to find the center of the disc first to help guide the way. There we go. There's my center. And then we're going to use the 1/4 inch hole for the center. Okay, hold on a second here. And we're going to try to get that centered. Let me do this. I need a little bit more centering here. So we're going to put this on top of our center finder. And mark it like so. That will help me out a bit. And where's my 1/4? Oops, there it is. And I'm using these guidelines here, okay, on the side and on the top to help guide the way. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's up to you. And honestly, if you punch one and it's sort of off, punch the other one a little off too. It'll work better. It'll look like it's intentional. Okay, so we're going to put it in here. We'll pull out our leather mallet. So why do I use a leather mallet when I'm punching out a hole? Because I don't want to destroy my disc cutter. So you might want to get a, what am I thinking? A weighted leather mallet be helpful. But if you trust yourself, then definitely use the brass hammer. Okay. So here I'm just going to reposition this to find the center. So the question is, wouldn't it be easier to punch the 1/4 inch first and then use the nylon center finder in there and then punch around it? The answer is yes. It depends on what you started with. If you started with just plain stock, that's how I would do it. But if you have discs, this is how you're going to need to do it. Oops. Okay, here we go. God, did I go through? Oops. Yeah. I'm still hitting it like it has gone through. Oops. There we are. And there's our hole. Okay. If you don't have a good if you don't have a good disc cutter, the disc cutter I'm using is the Eco Hay, and we have it on special for $155 shipped. So, you know, I didn't think I would ever use a disc cutter. I absolutely resisted it for years, and now it's indispensable in my workshop. So, something to consider. All right, so I'm sorry. Next up, we're going to clean this first before I go dapping it. The reason why I didn't clean this before I before I punched the hole out is because a lot of times a disc cutter has oils on it, and I'm going to have to clean it a second time anyway. So we'll just go ahead and clean it now with some Penny Bright, just like so, while it's flat. I find it easier to clean while it's flat than when it's domed. So, either way, it'll work, okay? Clean water, not going to be much cleaner, for very long here. Okay, there we go. You can see it's completely different from when it started. Here, I'll show you the difference. There we go. So make sure it's nice and clean. When you're enameling, you always want to make sure that you clean the surface and free of any oils and fire scale, or else it's a barrier to the enamel, and the enamel will not fuse, right? Okay, next up, we're going to put it in here, and we're going to dab it. And I'm moving it around, as you can see, in my dab, just to make sure it is really nice, just like so. See? So, next up, so the question is, the center hole looks a lot smaller than my sample. You can see it's pretty close because it's going to open up here in a second. I'm going to take out a, oh, it's right here. Okay, so you're going to need a 1/2 inch or so dap, and we're going to put it right in here, and we're going to tap it right down on it. And notice it opened up. So see, you can go a little bit bigger, but you don't want to go really big because you won't get this donut shape that we have here. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now we're going to counter enamel it on the back first. So counter enamel is the process of just enameling the back side. Do you need counter enamel to enamel the back side? No, you can use any color you want, but I would not use an expensive color because we're torch firing and you're probably going to muck it up anyway. So I would use something like black or brown on the back if you don't have any. All right, so we'll go ahead and put this on here. And I have some clear fire or diluted holding agent will work also. And we'll just go ahead and put a nice thin layer on the back side. Because we are using a curved surface, you do need to use something to get it to stick. A lot of people like to use hairspray. I personally do not like hairspray because I don't like it getting all over my studio. So, and you know, hairspray gets everywhere, right? So I'm just going to hold this in my hand. And we're just going to tap. And notice how I'm tilting my hands to make sure that I'm getting up on all those surfaces. Like so. And make sure you have a nice, even layer and you do not see any metals coming through. All right. I'm going to put it right here. You turn my enamels back so I don't cross-contaminate, like so. And we're just going to put it right here on the tripod. Make sure I'm out of the line of fire of my camera. All right, so what you want is you want to make sure that you allow the enamels to dry before you fire it. How can you tell if it's dry? It doesn't look like wet sand anymore. So if you do fire it before it is dry, you'll get bubbles, okay? So here we go. Whoops. Let's see if the torch actually works today because I dropped it in water. Wow. Okay. Yeah, my torch dipped over and it fell into my quenching water over there. But hey, look, it came on. So right underneath, right to the blue tip, and fire away. So you're going to take this until the enamel, it looks like sand, and then it's going to look like the surface of sugar, and then it'll look like orange peel. You do not need to get this to a high polish yet. So we're just going to take this to orange peel because we're going to be firing on it again anyway. Just like that. And turn that down. Now, if you're using one of these torches and when you come up and you turn it off and it's still blowing, that's because the oxygen, if your tank is really full, it's because the fuel is still surging and pushing. Just give it a second. Don't panic. It will turn off. Okay? Okay, so give that a second to cool off. Let's pull this off and put it on a cold surface. It's nice. And get that to start cooling. All right, while that's cooling, let's go ahead and move to the U shape, okay? So with the U shape, you can make whatever size you want. You can definitely make this longer if you prefer a more dangled earring. So we're going with 2 inches and bending it in half. Again, you can go to 3 inches if you want this to be a little bit more dramatic. That's up to you, okay? So here, I'm just going to cut it at 2 inches. Again, you want to make sure, because we're using 14 gauge wire, you want to make sure that that you're using a heavy duty cutter, or else you're going to break those nice Lindstroms of yours. All right, my wire is not really straight, so I'm going to go ahead and straighten it out just a little bit. By the way, all the product that you see here is available on our website. If you're just getting started with enameling, you can buy a color kit. We have color kits with 12 colors in them, and it'll just get you started really easily instead of committing to 1 or 2 colors. Okay, so next up, I'm going to hammer the ends about 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so how much hammering do you need to do? You want to hammer it big enough so that when you go to punch the hole, right? So when you go to punch this hole, that the width of this paddle is large enough for that 1.25 inch hole. So like that right now, I don't know if you can see that. Right now, this works, but it's a little bit small, okay? So I'm going to keep going. There we go, much better. And I'll do both sides. If you want to, you can hammer the whole entire thing. I like the difference of texture to go from flat to round and vice versa. It just gives it a little bit more dimension, right? Okay, file the ends a little bit just to make it a little bit nicer if you have any sharp edges. Just like so. And I'm going to hit it with just a little tiny bit of sandpaper. Okay, there we are. And then we'll punch a hole in each side, right in the center of that paddle. Not too close to the edge, because you'll create, because you go too close to the edge, you won't have a hole. You'll have an opening, right? Okay, there we are. And, voila. Okay. So then with this, I'm going to use the largest part of my multi-looping plier. I'm going to find the center. I'm just going to eyeball that and bring it around like so. Okay, maybe not the largest part. Let's go to the next one. And notice how I'm off, right? So I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. And you want to keep looking at your metal to make sure that you know where you're going with it. Okay, the other thing I want you to notice too, I think you can see that. This one, it's slightly tilted, so I'm going to fix that also. So I'm just going to turn it in so that they face each other. Because when you go to put the wire in between it, you want to make sure they're sort of even. Okay, I'm going to match it up with the other one. Okay, so when I pinch this together, this will become smaller, so this is good. All right, so there we are. Let's go back to this piece. It's nice and cool. So you can see I've created some fire scale on the back, on the front side, what is now the front side. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that with some Penny Bright also. So right in there, a good healthy amount of Penny Bright. And get aggressive with it. Really, really aggressive. Just like so. If you don't like it on your hands, you can definitely use it with a toothbrush. I find it a little bit, the toothbrush a little bit annoying personally. But a lot of people, again, they don't like this stuff on their hands. And it's safe, by the way, to have on your hands Penny Bright. It's not like the other copper cleaners that are a bit toxic. Everything in Penny Bright is food safe. So they're food safe ingredients. So it's perfectly fine to put it on your fingers. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wash that off. Okay. So you can see nice and clean. You know, if you like this shape as is, you could have just done this into the earring. Just make sure that you pierced a hole before you did any dapping. Okay. So there we are. And let's find another piece of paper here. I like to use something slick like a magazine page. These are just old flyers because it's easier to get them back into their container. So here's another trick. We'll see if I actually remember the colors I used. So I'm guessing with ivory this morning. It's not morning, this afternoon. Oi, I guess if you're on the West Coast, it's morning. So hello, West Coast. Good morning, West Coast. All right, so once again, because we're working with a curved surface, I'm gonna go ahead and brush on some clear fire. You can use holding agent. You can use Henrietta's gum. That's really expensive, so I wouldn't use that. All right. Put some enamel in your cup. Remember, never fill your sifter more than halfway, or else the enamel won't move properly. All right? And we're going to tilt this like so and get it on all the surfaces. And notice how I'm working from the outside in. This is important. You always, when you're enameling, want to make it in a spiral and work from the outside to the center. And I want to make sure I don't see any of my copper surfaces. So something I see most that's really common in a class is people go like this all over the place. Just want to work in a circle, okay? All right, I'm going to put this on my trivet carefully. so. And we're going to fire this one more time. Again, we're just going to take it to the orange peel state because I'm going to put another layer on top of that. So again, I'm going to gently move this around without doing this kind of business. You don't need to because the flame is so big and the piece is so small that you just sort of want to move it just a little bit. Just make sure you get all the surfaces nice and hot. You can see even in the screen that it looks like sand, right? And as it starts to change, the color starts to change. Remember, hot enamel and cold enamel are two different colors. It's just the nature of glass. You're going to take this right to the orange peel state before you stop. There we go. And we're going to set that aside again onto a cool surface. And notice how it's stuck. If it's stuck like this, it's not a problem. Just tap it on something hard and it'll drop. Okay? Set that aside again. So while that's cooling, we'll do a little bit more on the other piece. So now you're going to pull out your fine silver wire and you're going to make a ball. Very, very easy. Hold it with a pair of fire tweezers and put it right to the blue flame, holding this straight up and down, just like so. You want a ball that's big enough that it does not pass through the hole. So let's take a look and check it. There we go. So the question is, my enamel is firing much faster than someone out there, and the question is, how high do I have the torch? I have my flame all the way up to the blue cone, if that's helpful. Okay. Okay. It's getting there, almost. All right, so I've made my ball. I'm going to set that aside because oops, I don't think you saw that. Sorry. So I made my ball on my fine silver wire. It fits through and does not fall through my hole, so I know it's big enough, and I'll just set that aside for later. How long is my blue cone? I don't know. Give me a second. I'm going to turn it on again. I'll take a look. How long is my fine silver piece is the question. You know what? It's about an inch, but you don't need that much. It's a piece of scrap that I was using because the space inside here is only about 1/4 inch. So you probably only need about 1/2 inch in total between both balls. But this is going to vary a little bit. It's going to be up to you because some people are going to want this to be a little bit wider. Actually, I don't think you can see that. Can you see that? The gap in here. If you want it to be a little bit wider, you can. But it's not necessarily the most stable to go much wider than what I have in this bit of this 1/4 inch, because we're only working with a 24 gauge piece of silver. Okay, so now we're going to do the transparent on top. Now, if you notice, I have it sort of a gradient going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sift this whole thing and make it heavier on one side to the other, and that's how I'm going to accomplish the that gradient. Okay. Oops, going to leave that there. Brush some more clarifier on there, just like so. Make sure I get all my surfaces. And remember, when you're putting on something wet to get the enamel on there, you do need to let it dry or else you'll get bubbles. I'm moving along really quickly here because we don't really need to sit here and watch glue dry, right? It's like watching paint dry. Just as long as you understand the process. That's what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so here I'm using Mandarin, assuming I got the right color. All right, so I'm going to sift it on all the surfaces and go really light on one end. Make sure I got the sides there. I'm going to do the middle. And I'm going to go back and I'm just going to do one side really heavy. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Don't. I always close up my enamels. I never leave it open near my my tripod because there's always all kinds of soot coming off of my grate and it gets into your enamels and it sort of gives you black speckles. So we try not to do that. All right, so we're going to fire this again. Remember, every color of enamel fires a little bit differently. Some go faster than others, right? So I've noticed that transparents, they always go a lot faster than opaques. But the really deep opaques, like black and red and cobalt, they take like forever. So remember that. Okay, so let's see. That blue flame is maybe 2 inches. Maybe 1.5 inches. I'd say 1.5 inches. All right, you can see it starting to get glossy. So this time I'm going to fire all the way to gloss. All right, there we are. Okay. I think I did pick the right color. Yay! Woohoo! All right, set that aside. Give it a second to think about cooling. Grab it, put it down. Yay! I think I picked the right color. Woohoo! Okay, let it think about it there for a second. Let's make some earring wires while this is cooling. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces at 3 inches. 3 inches, 2.5 inches, something like that. That works. I do like to make my earring wires in pairs. It goes a lot faster and it ensures that they are even. All right, you know what? My ends aren't nice, so I'm going to use a pair of flush cutters and make it nice and flush. There we go. Again, multi-looping plier, using the smallest part to make the initial loop. And I'm bending these together at the same time, that is. And then I'm going to go right in here with the large loop. And I'm not going right next to the loop like that. So I'm not going right next to the loop. I'm going up here a little bit. Because, you know, I just wanted this to be a little bit different, this earring wire. I want it to have a longer look. So it's up to you, whatever. You know, it's just, they're just earring wires. So you can see how long that is. Okay, all the way down. And we'll trim that. About there. Okay. And then I'm going to bend the back up. Just like that. I like to have that little bit of a bend on the back side. I don't know why. Okay, and I'm going to hammer this just a little bit. Ooh, I picked the wrong color. I thought it was the right color. I picked the wrong color. So it's not mandarin. Let me think about that for a second. What other color would that be? So I'm going to hammer the shoulders. Just a second there. Just like so. All right. And there's my shape. That's the shape I'm going with today. All right, so here I've chosen the wrong color. I thought it was the right color, but notice when it cooled off, wrong color. So how can I correct this? You know what? I'm just going to enamel right over it. Give me a second. I'm going to go grab what I think might be the other color. Okay, so the only two other colors it can be is either sunset or Woodrow red. I think I'm going to go with sunset, see what happens here. See if I can get this correct. See, this is what happens when you don't take notes. And this is what happens when you don't work in pairs. You should be working in pairs, but oh well. Tis what tis, right? Do it again. And it's okay to enamel on top of glossy. It's okay to enamel on top of another layer, even though it's at the glossy state. They say that you really should do it to the orange peel, but you know what? I find that it still works. Fusing is fusing, right? So I'll try that again. Maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be wrong. Okay. All right, let's fire it. So remember, I'm taking this all the way to the blue cone. The blue cone is right up to the copper unit. And if you don't have a 9-inch tripod and you want to do torch fired enamel, you might want to consider that. I'm working on a 6-inch because of the height of the camera so that we don't go torching that. And that's why I'm sort of struggling here. So we're just going to fire this till it's all the way to glossy. And we'll see what happens. Let's see if that works. Maybe it'll just add another layer of color, which is cool too. Okay, let's grab that. All right, remember, never quench your enamel. Why? It's glass. You don't want to shock it, right? So there we are. Just give it a minute to cool off before I go handling that. Probably should have started with that. I don't use sunset very often. So, it's, you know, I use mandarin a lot more. It's getting there. And then we'll attach our pieces. I know. So what else is going on? So what's going on this week? This week on Wednesday, because I will be traveling, Janet Libby, who is a glass worker, will be stepping in and doing a guest instructor spot. It's called When Glass Meets Metal, or When Metal Meets Glass. I can't remember which one it is. But anyway, so she's going to be doing a glass demo on how to make beads, right? She'll be teaching at VEC also. She has an intro to glass bead making for VEC, which is pretty exciting for us. Okay, still the wrong color. Let's just go with it. Oh, it's okay. I think they're going to become pendants. Anyway. And then on Friday, Suli will be stepping in for me, and she'll be doing the zoom along on Friday if you want to zoom along with her. All right, so notice I'm pinching my U in between my donut, and then I'm going to insert my ball pin. Actually, that's not the hole I want up front. I wanted this one. Okay, no I didn't. That one. I'm going to insert my ball pin to the back, front to back. You don't want to do it back to front. You want it front to back, okay? There we go. Okay, so you see that? It's now all the way through. So now I'm going to cut it with just about 1/8 of an inch. There. And this is how I'm going to lock it in. Take out your fire tweezers and hold that gently. You see that? Let me zoom in just a little bit and you'll see how I'm going to do this. There we go. So I'm going to hold it gently and I'm going to fire it right there. And the reason why I can get away with this, even though I have enamels here, is because this piece is so small, it's going to fire very, very quickly. It's not going to take much heat at all to do this. Oh. And you want to do the back just in case you disturb the enamel. You don't want to disturb that front one. Come on. Oh, this is too much. You're killing me, dude. Today, we are not going to work. There we go. Okay, not enough heat, but there it is. Done. Did you see that? There it is. We're not going to quench this because you also just made the enamel hot, so you don't want to quench the enamel. But in the interest of time, I just quenched the top part of. I didn't quench the enamel at all. I just quenched the top part of my copper just to get it going. And see, this is nice and hot again. But we didn't disturb the enamel at all. Give it a second to cool off. You can go ahead and clean this with some steel wool if you like, or you can leave it if you like the patina. Okay. Again, just sort of sitting here waiting for things to cool off before I grab it. There we go. So we'll just clean that off. Just like so. You could put some Penny Bright on there if you want to. I sort of like the patina on this, but I would not be sticking this in pickle. There we are. Okay, so clearly this has been sitting around for over a month. Take out some pliers. And we'll add our earring wires. There we are. There's my Zeppeli. It's pretty similar to the first one, right? Close enough. Anyway, any questions? Have any questions? Just shout out and we will try to answer all your questions. Not many questions today, but this was a fairly straightforward and easy piece to make. I think the big trick was in how to make the donut shape, right? Woohoo! If you notice, all the projects have something in it that is a little bit different, that makes you want to think about what you're doing. So, looks like there's no questions, honey? Okay. I'm like, is Andy still with me? I haven't heard from him in a few minutes. Anyway, so it looks like there's no questions. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Again, we're not going to be on Twitch or YouTube on, let me think about this, on Wednesday, Friday, or the next Monday, because we have the guest instructor, Janet Libby, on Wednesday. And then on Monday, I'm doing my very first live on site. So we're going to do a studio tour at Studio 36 in Pottstown, PA. And I don't know how that's going to go. It'll be fun. It'll be the first one of the year. We'll be doing several more because I'm starting to hit the road and starting to go to in-person classes again, although limited. So, well, I'm going to test the system and see if I can get it to simulcast on the 2 Facebook pages, Twitch and YouTube, but no guarantee. So hopefully we'll see you next Monday. But thanks everyone for hanging out, and thank you for your continued support. Again, the Motley Metal kit is still available if you want to catch up, if you haven't started yet. And remember, these videos are also available on the Q Talk Facebook page and on YouTube long term, whereas on the other places, they sort of disappear after a certain amount of time. So in the meantime, it's going to be a great week. Be safe out there and go enjoy the weather, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.